Welcome to the channel. I'm a doctor. I've seen things that don't always fit into textbooks. Moments that no protocol can prepare you for. Some of these stories are my own. Others were shared with me by colleagues, nurses, paramedics, people who, like me, carry the weight of these moments long after the shift ends. Some stories begin in the hospital, but this one started in a restaurant, an ordinary place. On an ordinary day, what looked like a scandalous scene quickly turned into one of the most dangerous situations I have ever witnessed. It was a Saturday afternoon, a lively local restaurant, families enjoying lunch, couples chatting, people sipping coffee like any other weekend, until one man changed the whole atmosphere. A young man, maybe 25 or 30 years old. He was coming back from the restroom walking oddly, like something invisible was pushing him from the inside. Quickly he started getting the eyes and whispering of the people around him. He was sweating. His eyes bloodshot with something that wasn't clear. Was it rage, fear, or just pure raw madness? And then it started. He screamed. A loud, raw, unhinged scream like he was answering something only he could see. Then he shoved a table, then another. He started throwing glasses to the floor, swiping plates off tables. "They're following me. Don't touch me. You don't understand anything," yells, while keep throwing punches on the air. Panic hit instantly. Screams, chairs falling. Customers running for the door, others frozen in place, unsure whether to run or help. A waiter, braver than trained, tried to calm him down. "Hey man, you okay?" All he got in return was a punch to the face, broken nose, blood-soaked shirt. Seeing this, another customer and waiter jumped in. One tried to hold him in a chokehold, the other struck at his legs to bring him down. And during the struggle, someone yelled, "Call the police." Right. But the police never made it in time. Before they could get there, the man collapsed, just like that, as if his body could no longer contain all that rage, that confusion, that substance. Running through his veins, he seized, briefly but violently. Foam at the mouth, his muscles tensed, and then silence. Absolute silence. Broken only by children crying and the sobs of a woman who couldn't understand what she had just witnessed. Minutes passed. Then the distant sound of a siren, closer and closer. The ambulance arrived. Paramedics rushed out and went straight to him. They asked the restaurant staff, "When did he collapse? Did anyone hit him? Could he have been accidentally suffocated while being restrained?" But the answer was clear. No one really touched him. He was completely out of control before he hit the floor. The paramedic checked the vitals. Low blood pressure, erratic heart rhythm, dilated pupils, high temperature. They gave him oxygen, monitored his heart, started an IV line. He was in shock. But alive, they got him onto the stretcher and into the ambulance. And just when we thought the nightmare was over, he woke up. And it all started again. He tried to rip off his oxygen mask. Tried to jump off the stretcher. He cursed. He cried. Tried to bite. Screamed names of people who weren't even there. For everyone's safety, they had to strap him down. I'd never seen a patient so agitated so completely. Out of his mind, and that's how he arrived at the ER. When they arrived, a classic ER scene take place, with paramedic jumping out of the ambulance, taking down the stretcher with an agitated man. Your first thought might be, just another junkie. And yes, sometimes that's the case. Because sadly, during sometimes in emergency rooms, we've become used to it. People arriving high, eyes lost, drenched in sweat, screaming, patients breaking things, bleeding, hallucinating. It's part of the job, part of the background noise we learn to live with. And so that phrase lingers in the air like smoke. Another one. It's probably on meth or crack. Say one of the pediatricians before go back to his room and close the door. A young doctor mumbled as he walked away. Same old story, and just like that, moved on with his shift. Because as shocking as these stories are, they've stopped surprising us. But something didn't sit right with me. I've seen drug-induced crises. I've seen violence. I've seen madness. But this was different. His pulse wasn't just fast, it was wild, like his heart was fighting for its life. The sweat, it wasn't anxiety or exhaustion, it was feverish, sticky, like his body was melting from the inside. His pupils. Yes, dilated but not alive. There was no rage, no fear, just emptiness, as if something had stolen his consciousness and was wearing his body like a mask. His muscles twitched, not like chills, but like each one was rebelling, out of sync, out of control, pure organic chaos. And the worst part, he wasn't even there, not really. It's just fragments of a person, as if his mind had left, and his body was fighting whatever was left behind. That's when I knew this wasn't just another case, because sometimes routine is just the prologue to a bigger tragedy. Then he collapsed again. But this time was different. No screams, no struggle, just silence. Like his body, torn apart from within, simply shut down. He went into respiratory arrest. And suddenly, he wasn't the chaos anymore. We were. The medical team sprinted into action, intubation, adrenaline, ambu bag. His blood pressure crashed. His skin turned cold, pale, almost ashen. That's when we activated the drug protocol, because this wasn't just intoxication. This was a full-blown emergency. The rapid tox. The screen came back, and there it was. Alpha PVP, also known as Flakka, a synthetic drug. Cheap, potent, utterly devastating. A stimulant that doesn't just speed up the heart. It erases judgment, shatters the mind, and pushes people to the brink of insanity in minutes. Extreme. Euphoria, paranoia, violent hallucinations, uncontrollable aggression. Some call it the cannibal drug, not because it turns people into monsters, but because it devours control, judgment, and sometimes life itself. One dose can last for hours, but the consequences can last forever. He wasn't just a junkie. He wasn't just violent. He was a patient, trapped inside a substance that was destroying him from within. And while I don't excuse what he did, that day I realized no one had seen the human behind the chaos, only the monster. He survived, spent days in the ICU, and when he finally woke up, the first thing he asked was, "Where am I?" He remembered nothing, not the restaurant, not the hospital, not the people he hurt. He only knew he was lucky to still be alive. It was only later. Once the test cleared and the machines went silent, he could finally speak. He told us he used to be an electrician, that he had a little girl he hadn't seen in months, that before all this, he had been clean for nearly a year. But one night, one moment of weakness, and he relapsed. And this time, the drug didn't let go. He cried when he spoke about his daughter. "I don't want her to see me like this," he said, voice trembling, struggling to recognize himself. "I just wanted to forget everything for a while." And suddenly, everything made sense. The chaos, the rage, the fear. He wasn't just an addict. He was a broken man, someone who had already hit rock bottom once, and wasn't sure he could climb out again. That day I learned something they don't teach you in medical school, that sometimes treatment doesn't start with an IV or a medication. It starts with seeing the patient as a person, listening to their story, because often the strongest thing inside them isn't the drug, it's the guilt. Sometimes the real diagnosis begins when we stop labeling and start listening. Have you lived something like this? Have you seen someone lose themselves in a drug and come back? Share your story in the comments, and if this story touched you, give it a like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Help us tell real stories that deserve to be heard.